Welcome to the Italian Grand Prix. This is your weekend warm-up. Temperatures are rising both here in Monza and in both title fights. Well, Formula One was back with a bang last weekend in the Netherlands, wasn't it? Zandvoort was a thriller and Lando Norris had a near faultless weekend. Fastest lap, pole position and a 22-second win. The headlines coming into this weekend here in beautiful, scorching Monza. Williams, all eyes on them. Logan Sargent has replaced, is being replaced by Franco Colapinto coming into this weekend. Kimi Antonelli will be in FP1 for Mercedes, and Ferrari, well, they're on home soil and looking to build on what they promised last time out in Zandvoort. To look into all of that alongside me, Lawrence Barretto, Will Buxton, Davide Valsecchi. For now though, let's take a look back at how it all went down in the Netherlands.
This is the Dutch Grand Prix. Lando Norris at the front of the field. Can anyone get near Max Verstappen in the championship? It's a poor start for Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen takes the lead.
It's the worst case scenario for Lando.
That's a tidy pass. Hamilton slicing his way through the field.
Let's see how you do under pressure.
Ja, maar thuis on the group.
Norris is getting close and all of the damage done at the start is forgotten now as Lando Norris takes the lead.
It's just dangerous.
And look at this, a total brawl on the main straight. 3 wide into Tarzan corner will not work. That updated McLaren is an absolute rocket ship. Lando Norris wins with a crushing performance.
That was unbelievable. Let's keep pushing.
If Miami was a landmark, Zandvoort has been a statement.
70 points is the gap in the Drivers' Championship, 30 points in the Constructors' Championship. And now all eyes turn to Monza and the Italian Grand Prix. And I tell you what, boys, it is scorchio here. It is very, very warm and it's set to be in the sort of low 30s throughout the course of the weekend, Lawrence, but brilliant to be back here.
Oh, so good to be back here. I mean, frankly, the conditions couldn't be any more different to Zandvoort, where we had blustery conditions, winds of 90 kilometres an hour. Here, we could do with those winds to cool us down because it is scorching, but there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of anticipation because I think we've got a great race weekend ahead of us.
Yeah, we really do. Will, the track has been resurfaced. That's the big news for the circuit coming in. There's plenty of the infrastructure that's been remodelled and revamped as well, but the track is important. It looks like a brand new Monza out there.
It really does, and this is going to be key throughout the weekend. The circuit has been relaid in its entirety. New curbs for the drivers to contend with as well. I took a lap earlier today with Pierre Gasly out there, which was an absolute thrill. And he was... And
wait, were you driving him,
no,
or was he driving
you?
He
was driving me. No,
what's
really interesting is sometimes the actual F1 drivers will avoid doing the hot laps with the guests. I've never seen so many F1 drivers want to do the hot laps today because they wanted to get a first feel for the track surface.
Ocon was there.
Ocon was there. Yeah.
Russell there.
Lance Stroll was there. So many of the guys doing it. But yes, listen, the new asphalt, it's incredibly dark. There's a lot of bitumen still rising to the surface as well, which as we know is incredibly sticky. So they're expecting it to be high grip, high deg as well because of this intense heat which will stay in that very dark asphalt. But Pierre said it was incredibly smooth. The new curbs, very, very drivable as well, which may play into the hands of Red Bull, who we know have struggled with curbs over recent races.
So dark asphalt, more grip, more speed, probably higher tyre deg. I think degradation is going to be one of the biggest talking points of this weekend. Davide, brilliant to have you back with us as well, and of course on home soil, and home soil for Ferrari too. It was an unexpected podium last time out, wasn't it, for Charles Leclerc? Seemingly he said he needed a miracle. Well, he got one. How did you see their performance, and how do you see them going here?
Yeah, the driver, they were fantastic. I mean, the level of Leclerc in the driving style at the moment is very high. And then I was surprised about the speed of Sainz in the second stint of the race, probably the quickest after Lando Norris, behind Lando Norris. So incredible how quick it was. Ferrari with the hard compound that usually struggling during the season. Probably with the updates here, he can fight for something more than a podium. Last year they were on podium, but they were on pole on Saturday. Probably this year they can do something better. Seems that they needed to have some extra performance from the car, most of it on Saturday. when you can define your race. If you start every time for the third or fourth row, you struggle to achieve good results. So I hope for them to have something more and more speed, to let the driver fighting in front of the own crowd, in front of the tifosi.
The tifosi. I've not really experienced an atmosphere much like we had this time last time out when we had a Ferrari pole. It was electric, it was feverish. They're bringing upgrades, long-awaited upgrades as well, aren't they, Lawrence? What have you found out today?
Well, ever since Ferrari brought in this upgrade in Spain, they've struggled with the return of bouncing, porpoising. I think we all thought we were over those terminology, and it came back into the car, dialed it back in. They put a little upgrade just before the summer break that seemed to help dial it out. They're hoping that this one, although it's going to be a little bit difficult to tell whether it works around here because it's not really the track that lends itself to a proper test, the hope is that that has helped dial it out, which will give the drivers more confidence going forward. And I think that's why, when I was talking to Charles and Carlos, they're a little bit more optimistic about their chances this year, that hopefully they'll retain that low downforce, straight line speed advantage that they had around here, that let them get pole last year and fight for the podium, but also kind of retain also their stronger race pace, which we saw obviously in Zandvoort and just generally speaking this year.
And one of the joys of this weekend is we come into each race and have absolutely no idea who may win. I've been absolutely loving it. Charles Leclerc on the podium last time out. That means, of course, he was in the cool-down room. Him and Max had this interesting exchange on McLaren's pace.
Right.
How far were you from
20 seconds or something, 22 seconds. Yeah.
Leclerc's face, I think, saying it all about the pace of that McLaren, certainly in the hands of Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc did, however, Davide, keep that McLaren of Piastri behind him, not without a fight.
Yeah, it was very good on maintaining him behind, and probably the team of Ferrari did a better strategy to give the chance to Leclerc to stay in front of Piastri, because on the race pace seems that Piastri and Norris, they were on another level, but at the end only one driver got the victory and the other one out of the podium. But I think Max Verstappen is used to give 20 seconds to all the others. For Leclerc, yeah, I don't know, he never had this chance. I hope for them can fight for the victory this weekend. Can be important for Ferrari. It's a bit disappointing thinking that Ferrari at the beginning of the season was much stronger than McLaren, and now McLaren is fighting for the title and Leclerc is just watching. So I hope for him something more from the car.
That 22-second margin for Lando Norris was, I believe, the biggest by a non-Red Bull driver since Saudi Arabia 2021. So, I mean, such a length of time has passed, all the things that have happened since then. Will, for Piastri, we mentioned, of course, that Ferrari strategy, which kept Charles Leclerc in front and made it more difficult for Piastri in that dirty air. Is there any way that McLaren on that side of the garage could have got Piastri in front onto that podium? Because it felt like, while Lando Norris had a near faultless weekend if you take away the start, for Piastri there was a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah, Ferrari managed to get themselves on the podium with brilliant race strategy. They used the undercut, got ahead, maintained the position and pulled home the podium. Had McLaren opted to take the undercut rather than leaving Oscar out longer and hoping that time in free air would actually allow him to make up the time that he lost to everybody else, and it ultimately didn't work out. Had they taken that decision, I think Oscar could have got P2. The pace in that McLaren, the pace it showed over the weekend, he could have caught up Max Verstappen. I firmly believe that, and if he put on as gutsy a move as Lando did on Max, then potentially Oscar could have come home, and it's a McLaren 1-2. So we're looking at an entirely different race had McLaren just taken that undercut for Oscar.
And where would we be looking at the constructor standings now if that had happened, if we'd had a P1, P2 for McLaren? That fight will continue throughout the weekend. Let's hear now, though, from Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris.
From these upgrades, is there one thing that you need? Is it just better consistency?
Let's say that there were very specific characteristics of the car that we had to improve. I'm not going to go too much into details, and those upgrades should help us. Then we'll see, because I don't think Monza is the best track to judge those upgrades. Probably Baku or Singapore will be a more of a test for us, but it should go in the right direction anyway. But by how much, I don't know yet.
Tell us about this weekend. The downforce is coming off here. Do you expect the car to be as good in low downforce trim?
Tough to say. I mean, if you kind of compare it a little bit more to Spa, probably. I think we were still pretty good there. Obviously, Red Bull were very quick there, but Red Bull have always been very good in Spa specifically. Here is a bit of a question mark. It was probably one of our worst races last year, mainly because I just sat behind Alex the whole race. But was genuinely one of our trickier races that we did last year. So we're not expecting to be probably as good as we were last weekend. That's for sure. We always knew we were going to be very good in Zandvoort, but a weekend where we're expecting good competition with all of our competitors.
From one of their worst weekends, one of their more challenging of recent years, to a perfect weekend for Lando Norris, from the fastest lap to a pole position and a 22-second race win. Will, it was a remarkable performance, wasn't it, from Lando Norris, and one which I felt was a bit of a coming-of-age moment for him, in the sense that there wasn't a safety car that interrupted things, there wasn't any other external factors at play here in him beating Max Verstappen fair and square on merit.
It was demolition. It was an absolute demolition, and superbly done. His little comment over the line of simply lovely. Daniel Ricciardo was saying today, like, he knows Max pretty well, and he reckons that was just and Max is a good mate of Lando's, but he's like, that's just going to wind Max right up. So all good fun. But one thing I really liked, early in the race, we heard a radio message, and we've had a lot of kind of questionable radio calls throughout the year of McLaren asking their drivers what they think they should do, and it felt like there was another one where they said, Lando, who are we racing today? But I went to speak to Will Joseph today, and I was like, what was that about? Because it didn't feel like that was actually questioning him. He said, no, it wasn't. He said, that was a statement, not a question. It was more of a, hey, Lando, who are we racing today? And Lando's like, the guy ahead. It's like, bam. And that's when he put his foot down, and that's when he went for it. And it was almost like that little moment between the two of them, like, just remember who we're racing today. And he was like, oh yeah, that guy, I'm going to go and get him now. And sure enough, he did. Phenomenal.
I love that. Yeah. Confidence, a bit of sass as well. Lawrence, where do you see the McLaren for this weekend? Obviously, it's a new asphalt. The track has been resurfaced, so there are plenty of unknowns out there. Free practice is going to be mighty important. But on recent form, how will this car perform here?
Well, Lando touched on it a little bit when he was saying it's probably not going to be the kind of level of performance that they showed at Zandvoort, but I think they know that they've got a package at the minute that performs everywhere. It's Red Bull-esque, essentially, and I think the form that they've been carrying through the last 3, 4, 5 Grand Prix will give them a lot of hope that actually they can qualify strongly. I think Lando went away over the summer, and really thought about all of those kind of mental side of things where the little details were hurting him, and he's come back and he said, I wasn't driving like a world champion. Obviously, it felt like he was in Zandvoort, and I think that confidence will probably make the little bit of difference that they'll need this weekend.
Thank you very much. Lawrence, we're going to say goodbye to you. Just for a moment, though, please come back. You'll be back later on in the show. Okay. But thank you for all of your insight so far. Oscar Piastri then, a P4 last time out, and a feeling he had a bit of work to do. How is he approaching this weekend? Let's see.
McLaren fighting for their first Constructors' title since 1998. When you joined the team, you spoke of that desire to get back to winning ways with the team. So how exciting is this phase as a driver, and you're right in the mix?
Yeah, obviously very, very exciting. I think as a team, it's what we're aiming for, to win the championship. I think. Obviously, I think we would have liked to have started the first few races of the year a bit stronger and be in a closer fight for both championships. But I think for the Constructors' Championship, it's definitely a great position to be in at the moment. So even just the individual success, individual weekend success of our race wins this year is an incredible place to be, and enjoying the challenge of fighting back at the front.
Thanks. Good luck. Thank you.
Well, there we go. McLaren versus Ferrari versus Red Bull. Who knows? It is on this weekend, though. And of course, the breaking news coming in to these 4 days we have here in Monza is that Williams have replaced Logan Sargent with Franco Colapinto. We've also replaced Lawrence Barretto with Alex Jakes. Alex.
Bit harsh on Lawrence, isn't it? Hey, bit harsh.
He is coming back, we promise.
We'll see.
In all seriousness, we wish Logan Sargent all the very best as well. The first American to score points in 30 years, and he's done a solid job at Williams over the years. But I think the mutual feeling was that his position had become somewhat untenable. He has been replaced. Who is Franco Colapinto? You obviously are a Formula 2 commentator for many, many years. You see the rise of these young talents to the very top.
Yeah.
This is now Franco's turn, isn't it, the Argentine?
It's incredible. So 21-year-old from Argentina has one sprint win from Formula 2 this year. A great last lap pass around the outside of Paul Aron into the Tamburello chicane. The sort of moment where you go, tell you what, that was pretty impressive. That's the sort of thing, and we say this all the time in commentary, that's the sort of moment that sticks in the paddock's mind. Everyone remembers a fantastic move like that. He's been on the podium 3 times this year. He's in the top 10 of the championship, 4th place finisher in Formula 3 last year, and the Academy connection has got him into Formula 1.
Yeah, promoted from within, I think, is important, Will. I know that's something you were talking about earlier that you really appreciate. I also want you to just touch upon how I don't think, with the greatest respect to Franco Colapinto, he was at the top of the rumour list of who might be in that Williams seat should they want to replace Logan.
No, that's fair. Liam Lawson was top of that list, but Red Bull apparently wanted to maintain his services just in case they decide to switch drivers before the end of the year, which shows that storyline has not reached its full conclusion yet either. There was some talk about Mick Schumacher. Listen, the drivers aren't in Parc Ferme, but for me it's changing like for like in that regard. Mick had some time in Formula 1. It cost Haas a lot of money in terms of the damage bill there. Would it have been an upgrade on Logan? I'm not convinced, honestly, that it would have been. But yeah, drawing from the young driver program at Williams, I think is a real strength for this, because they're not going to be able to do that for the next few years. Alex Albon, Carlos Sainz, locked in. Where do their young drivers go? And in order to sort of maintain the interest, the financial input into that academy, I think it's really great that they are promoting from within, showing the strength of that academy. And what they're going to have at the end of it is a third driver who's got 9 races of F1 experience. Is he going to be able to set the world alight in those 9 races? It'll be a tough job, but I don't think that's what they want from him. They just want steady consistency, bring it home, and then have a really well-prepped third driver for the future.
Franco Colapinto has absolutely nothing to lose. What an opportunity. What a privilege. Davide, what is it like, that step from F2 up into F1 and also coming in midway through a season as well? What kind of mindset does he need to be in?
Not easy at all. Not easy at all for the driver getting into the Formula 1 during the season. To be honest, it would be an incredible hard job for him. And then he needs to score points, try to be close to the performance to Albon, try to beat him sometimes, and it's not an easy job, and then no damage and no crash, because the reason why they replaced Logan Sargent because he was often against the barriers, often out, he crashed, he made the damages, and he lost the place in Formula 1. So he has to deliver the result and then not making any mistakes. Easy to say, very hard to do, also because his teammate Alexander Albon, sometimes we underestimate him. I mean, I think he's a pretty good driver, and when he has the chance to score points, he's always there, and it's not easy to beat. In his career in Formula 1, only Verstappen was definitely in front of him. All the others, they are paying the bill. So I think Albon is not going easy to beat, and for Colapinto, he has a hard job in front of him if he want to impress and if he want to have a future in Formula 1.
You make it sound simple on paper. Alex Shakes, how difficult will this be in practice, out there in the heat of battle for Franco Colapinto? What do you think he can do this season?
This weekend is a perfect place to make your debut. Nick de Vries showed us that a couple of years ago, and then it gets really tricky, and it's relentless. So the one thing he's got is core speed, right? The one thing that they've talked about all the time, really, really quick driver. It's everything else now that he has to learn. Remember, he's going from a single-seater that's hugely, hugely powerful, but now he's into a Formula 1 car where you're making changes every single corner. It's another level, and weirdly, it's a sink or swim situation that I think will bring out his raw instincts and his raw talent.
But Berman, before this season, surprised the world with this performance in Saudi Arabia. So probably he can have some chances.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see some of the F2 talent mixing it up for this weekend. Let's hear it from the new teammates then, Franco Colapinto and Alex Albon.
Hey Franco, congratulations again. Obviously you had that weekend at Silverstone to get acquainted with the car. You spent a lot of time with the team, but it's still quite short notice to jump into the car. What have the team kind of set you as targets just for this weekend, and what are your personal targets as well?
Yeah, we've got many targets. Of course, we are going to go step by step. I think it's the most important part. What the team wants is to build my confidence slowly and of course arrive to the important moment of the weekend with a bit more chance of being quick enough. I'm going to try to give my all now. Of course, I know what the team is expecting, and I know their targets. I know what their goal is, and I'm going to try to achieve that together. I'm going to, as I said, give my all to make them proud. Of course, that was a very tough decision, I understand, and I am extremely grateful for this opportunity. It's something I dreamt about since I was a little kid, and to be here today and to have so much support from Williams, to have this opportunity and so many people behind backing me, trying to make all this process quicker. Of course, Silverstone was very short. I only did a couple of laps in FP, but it went very well. So I am looking forward to this chance. And yeah, just super happy to be here today, and also in Monza. It's a special track. I think one of the most historic tracks of the calendar. It's a race that everyone is expecting to race in, and you know the tifosis are insane. So I am super happy to do my debut here.
Great stuff. Best luck this weekend.
First up, how surprised were you by Logan Sargent's departure?
Yeah, I'm kind of focused in my own lane. So. Obviously, more than anything, just I know Logan personally. He's a super guy, and you know, things didn't work out, but you know, I'm sure whatever he gets on and moves on to do, he's going to be very good. I know the pace that he has, and at the same time, of course, you know, Franco's now joining, so there's a bit of a learning curve for him. But I think he's coming at the right moment. If I could choose a track to do my first race at, I think Monza is one of the more forgiving ones, better than Baku or Singapore.
There we go. Best of luck to Franco Colapinto this weekend. What an opportunity he has for the rest of this season, alongside Alex Albon and under the guise of James Vowles as well. Of course, we've got F2 and F3, and F3, the championship decider this weekend as well. 6 drivers in with a fight for that one, 39 points between them.
It's just a brawl. It's always chaos. Good luck, Chris McCarthy.
Yeah, you're not commentating that one, are you? Good luck to Chris McCarthy. We all love. I can't wait to watch. It's going to be brilliant. Okay. F2, of course, moving to another F2 driver who is making, I think, a long-awaited arrival here into the F1 paddock. He'll be driving in FP1 for Mercedes. Well, you've been keeping your eye on Kimi Antonelli throughout the course of this season. We now get to see what Mercedes have been seeing behind closed doors, what so many of this paddock have been bubbling with excitement about.
Yeah. There's so much expectation on his shoulders, probably more than on Franco Colapinto's shoulders, if we're being entirely honest. Listen, this is the guy who Mercedes have such faith in that they decided to offer Lewis a 1+1 deal, which ultimately opened the door for him to go off and join Ferrari. You don't offer a 7-time world champion an escape route if you don't believe that the kid you're opening that door for is somebody very, very special. They haven't confirmed him for next year. I've believed since the day Lewis signed for Ferrari that Antonelli will be in that seat next year. And we've been talking about him since Miami. You know, and we were talking about would Logan make way, the fact that, you know, the FIA was contacted about would it be okay to put a 17-year-old in, even if it was for free practice or possibly for a race. There's been so much talk, but now that can all stop. He gets in the car, and as you say, Mercedes have been running a private testing program for him in old cars. It's been his consistency, it's been his feedback, it's been his speed, yes, but the way he works with the team that has impressed Mercedes so much. Is he going out there looking to finish the session P1? Absolutely not. This is potentially the first opportunity for him on a Grand Prix weekend to be working with the guys and girls at Mercedes that he will, we think, be working with next year. So this very much a stepping stone, very much a part of his preparatory route to Formula One. But yeah, somebody who is seen in this paddock, and particularly down at Mercedes, as the next Max Verstappen, as the next Lewis Hamilton, someone who really could be that good.
Davide, does it get much better for him, this youngster coming in at Monza in Italy, driving a Mercedes, a car that's won 3 of the last 4?
No, best chance in the world, to be honest. And yeah, you cannot imagine something better than it. To be honest, I really care about this guy because He's a good one. He's a fantastic, lovely guy. He's a good person. He's an amazing driver that has some struggling during the season in Formula 2. We need to be honest, but probably also down to his team that is not delivering so much. He's beating very often his teammate Berman, that is already confirmed in the future for Formula 1. And to be honest, this weekend he has a great opportunity. No mistake, show his talent, he has to show his speed. And then one thing that we need to remember is that he's so young. Also physically, this year, changed so much, this guy. At the beginning of the season, he's struggling a bit with the effort that you need to put in Formula 2. This is the last category before the power steering, and so it's very heavy. And now he's incredible fit, he's tight, he's strong, he's like a rocket. So I really push for him, and I hope he has a bright future in front of him, because he deserves it.
There's pressure even for just one session, isn't there, Alex? What are you seeing from him in F2? Because he has talent, and when he's got the car operating for him on a race weekend, he's won already this season.
Yeah, the wet was spectacular.
Well, I remember a long time ago I asked Davide Valsecchi who was going to be quick one year in Formula 2, and he gave me a Formula 3 driver. His name, Oscar Piastri. Why? Because of how he'd driven in the wet at Mugello. In the wet at Silverstone, he just absolutely took off. Second a lap quicker than everyone else. Yes, he's got the visibility. But I want to play a little bit against the hype and go, Mercedes taking a bit of a risk here. If he's in the car, replacing a 7-time world champion, hardest ever. We had Lewis Hamilton out in Q2 in Zandvoort. We had Carlos Sainz out in Q2. The bar, Mercedes, who, obviously going to have him in the car. This is the first part of that journey. The bar they're asking him to clear is one of the highest ever set in Formula 1 history, and pretty much the only way you could take this generational talent and not have him be a generational talent is put him through the ringer immediately, and he's in the pen and he's facing, why are you out in Q1?
The worst thing that could possibly have happened to Kimi Antonelli is Mercedes have suddenly figured out their car. Because when that car was doing nothing, you can bring him in, and this is what we were saying earlier on in the season, throughout even pre-season testing, you're bringing him in a car, zero expectations, you're not thinking about race victories. Great, you've got a year to bet him in before the rules reset in 26, and then you launch him for a title. Putting him into a race-winning car, as Alex says, it's a whole different ballgame.
He's got to do a Villeneuve, he's got to do a Hamilton, he's got to be that quick, and that's why we're all excited, because if he is, what a story it's going to be.
Completely.
Would you have kept him in F2 for another year?
No,
if you were Toto Wolff, you'd have seized him
probably put him in another Formula 1 team.
I wouldn't.
But we've been having this argument all year.
Because I don't see the point in, look, if you want to be a great chef, right, and you want to be a Michelin-starred chef, you don't do your training in McDonald's, right? You do it in the high. But you do it in the high-pressure environment of like working under Gordon Ramsay or Joël Robuchon or someone like that. You don't,
Do you think that has changed in recent times? Because I'm intrigued. We've obviously got Williams have promoted from their academy, Alpine have promoted from their academy. It's almost like the other team's getting a bit sniffy about how the other teams do it.
Yeah, I love it. I love the faith that they've got in him, but it's going to be such a huge challenge. But the other thing I like as well is that he hasn't had a brilliant, sparkling Formula 2 season, because everything he's ever done, best car on the grid, wins the championship. There's no real challenge in that. It's just get in, get the job done. Okay, another weekend, tick. This year, he's had to learn what it is to drive a car that was so far above him physically and train to get used to that car. What it is to drive a car that is not the best in the field. How to turn the team's fortunes around. That's what you need in this game. And if you've just had success all the way through, you don't learn those things.
Anyway, put him immediately. Replacing one of the best drivers in the history of Formula 1 is not hard. It's like Mission Impossible. And I want you to remember, please, when they promote Max Verstappen, everyone was saying that was a huge talent. Did you remember? When they promoted in Toro Rosso, 17 years old, at the fourth or fifth race, he crashed in the barrier against in Monaco against Grosjean. Everyone was saying that was dangerous and it was a mistake. Do you remember? So this man has to have so big shoulder, react to the pressure, and then at the end we realized that was one of the best in the history of Formula 1. No, it's Max Verstappen. So we need to have this kind of attitude also from Antonelli to react to the pressure that he's going to have to replace one of the best in the history.
But as we see with Logan, this is Formula 1. You don't get second chances. It's sink or swim. We all, I think that Kimi is a step above. maybe the level that Logan was able to bring to Formula One, but it's the Piranha Club, you know. They're not here to make friends. It's perform or get moved on. It's the nature of the game.
And he's only doing FP1, and look at the debate this has generated
Well,
already.
it's because we all think he's going to be in there, in the car, in Australia,
Yeah.
as a Grand Prix driver next year. That's why this is really important, because if this guy is a generational talent, then tomorrow, FP1, it really means something.
Yeah.
And we could talk about this, I'm sure, for a few more hours, but we unfortunately do have to allow the show to rumble on. And actually, we want to show you something as well, because you two are one of my favourite commentary duos, Davide Valsecchi and Alex Jakes. And oh, what a moment. Earlier on, Valsecchi took Jakesy on a hot lap.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the full edit of this. That's coming up later in the week, so do stay tuned to F1 TV. Oh, come on, give us an internal shot of Jakesy crying.
They've heard loud noises from both of us before.
We don't get any, yeah, well, to be fair, just like a commentary box, we do not get any internal pictures until later in the week. So there you go. That's a real tease for all of you. But thank you, Alex. It's brilliant to get all of your insight into
Perform
F2.
or go home, and apparently I'm going home.
Yeah, that's it. Harsh.
Okay, yes.
Harsh.
Goodbye
you don't
now.
even get to make your predictions, mate. That's it.
That's all right.
Oh, go on, your prediction. Go on, before you go.
I think Charles Leclerc's going to win, and then I think it's going to be the McLaren boys.
Ooh.
Lando ahead of Oscar.
That's exciting. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
you can go now. Thank you. Okay. Well, we've been talking about Kimi Antonelli replacing the 7-time world champion. Let's hear from the 7-time world champion, shall we? It's Lewis Hamilton.
Given what's happening next year, does it feel different for you being in Monza this year?
Hi everyone. I'm not gonna lie, it definitely does feel a little bit different. I mean, it always feels special when you come here. We're coming here at a decent time in terms of the weather's incredible today. Obviously, the huge changes they've made to the track, but as Charles was saying, there's always such incredible passion throughout Italy, just in the culture in general, but particularly about racing. And it's always exciting just to see the fans that we're going to see throughout the weekend. The passion here and the excitement that they really bring to this race is really not particularly matched in too many places.
Of course, Lewis Hamilton steps on to Italian soil to race for the second time this season. And what a reception he will receive as we welcome back Lawrence Barretto. What a reception he'll receive.
Ah, thanks. Nice.
Yes, Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari. Amazing. Go.
What is great is Lewis gets a dry run this year, doesn't he? A little bit about what love he can expect next year. I think there's already so much love for him. Just walking in today, actually, there were Lewis Ferrari fans out there, and I think that's a massive step. Can you imagine what it's going to be like 12 months on? The Lewis Hamilton hype train will have built to a huge extent. But look, I don't know, Mercedes, they might have a slightly tougher weekend overall in terms of pure performance. I know they really stepped on 3 in the last 5 that they've won, and they've been competitive at the front. But look, Lewis can do some pretty special things. And look, if he gets a good setup at the start of the weekend, which he didn't quite have in Zandvoort, he could have a better, maybe he can challenge for a podium.
Man of the moment there, who we've just spent a little while talking about, Kimi Antonelli walking through, looking very relaxed on what is a huge pressure weekend for him, and just photos with fans being stopped all the time, but very much taking it in his stride. But yes, on to Mercedes for this weekend. Earlier on, Will, we talked about the asphalt, the resurfaced track, the fact it makes things that little bit hotter, tyre deg that little bit more intense for our drivers, and George Russell suffering with tyre deg even in Zandvoort, and we know Mercedes do struggle there. So how will they counter that this weekend?
I don't know if they can. You know, Zandvoort, they were estimating to be a 1-stop. It turned out that neither driver could hold on to the tyres long enough to do the 1-stop, forced onto the 2-stop for both drivers. We know that ultimately they don't enjoy the hotter temperature tracks. They struggled there. I think this could be a really hard weekend for Mercedes, you know, unless they find something. But if we take it from everything we've seen so far this season, it's not going to be their weekend. It's going to be a tough one for them.
Davide, any thoughts finally from you on Mercedes and their prospects?
It's not easy to say because in Spa, that was a nice speed circuit, they were the best. And during the race, they didn't destroy the tires. They can hold the tires for ages with Russell and won that race. Then they were not regular with the car, but okay, they were disqualified. But I mean, they won the races with Lewis Hamilton. So it's not easy to say. From my point of view, can be their track. But now about the new surface, about the degradation, I'm a bit worried for them. But at least with the speed, with this long straight, they can do something important. And if you give the chance to Hamilton to start in the first 2 rows, this man can win the races.
Oof, there we go. Plenty of unknowns then heading into this weekend. One of them is the schedule, but we're about to clear that up for you right now. Here it is. This is how things are shaping up at the Italian Grand Prix here at the Temple of Speed. Here we go then. 1:15 for FP1, building up to that one, the first hour of running on this relayed track. Then 4:45 for FP2, 12:15 for FP3, our pre-qualifying show at 3:30 for a 4 p.m. hour of qualifying, and then your pre-race show starting at 2 p.m. here in Monza with a 3 p.m. race start on what will be a blisteringly fast race as well, such is the lap time here. Okay, prediction time, our favourite time of the week. Lawrence, you're first.
I can't see past McLaren, to be honest. I think it's another race where they've learned more about the upgrade. I'm sure they would have made some gains in understanding why Lando and Oscar had poor starts in Zandvoort, so I think that will be crucial here as well. It's just a case of, I think, which one of them. So I'm going to put Lando ahead of Oscar. I think it's going to be difficult otherwise. And then I do think, because Ferrari's optimism is there, I think one of them will nab a podium.
Will?
Ditto. Lando, Oscar, Charles.
Davide?
Crucial for Lando, he needs to beat Verstappen. But I think Ferrari is going to fight for everything. So we'll see. Ferrari, good for them.
The Italian
I
rooting
said
for
the same
Ferrari.
story in Imola, and it was completely wrong. So let me be optimistic at least.
Yeah, you can follow this script for now. It's perfect. I tend to agree. I think we're going to see McLaren up there. I think Max could be up there as well. Ferrari battling.
You know, both of Lando's wins have had exactly the same podium. Lando, Max, Charles.
Great stat. Thank you very much. Agree or disagree? I'm sure you do. You can head on to the F1 Fantasy app, have your say. Just a reminder, currently leading the F1 Live League.
Had to get it in.
Just drop that one in there. Before we head off, thank you all very much. Thank you very much to you, Lawrence. Thank you to you, Will. Thank you very much to you, Davide, as well. Thanks to all of you for watching. That was your weekend warm-up here in Monza, and it's set to be a thriller of a weekend. We'll see you tomorrow for free practice.
This is the Italian Grand Prix.
A Ferrari on pole means we go racing amid a raucous atmosphere. Good reaction time from the two Ferraris. Sainz is first, down to turn one. Side by side they run, and Verstappen takes the lead. Heritage all the way through.
I love the passion of the home fans.
Oh my word, he's done it! Brilliantly intense Italian Grand Prix.